And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Happy, whatever it is, Tuesday.
Happy whatever it is.
That was back-to-back. Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back. Late game followed by a later one.
Yeah. Quick turnaround. So,
yeah, whatever day it is. It doesn't matter, really. It's a game day is what it is. How are you, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
I got to admit, honestly, I'm still kind of riding high.
Okay.
So, yesterday at the game, Coach and I did the show, and then we went downstairs in the media room.
You did pregame.
What did I say? Yeah, not the game. Pregame.
Okay.
Pregame. And then we went downstairs. For those of you that don't know or actually care, the media room, because the hockey is coming in, is not a thing anymore. Mm-hmm. And there used to be a media meal down in that room, and to substitute it, they have us go to the Toyota Club.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It is.
Really appreciate it. It's really great. So Tim and I sit down, and we start to eat, and all of a sudden, Ben, I was recognized.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy. I was recognized.
By
Now get this. A female.
Oh, okay.
A female.
I hope your wife's listening.
Now.
She work in the industry?
Shout out to Leah.
Okay.
No, she's a graphic designer and an artist, actually, and showed us some of her cool stuff that's sports related. She's not only a listener of jazz radio and a jazz fan. She is a Jake and Ben fan.
Oh.
She is a fan of this show.
Wow.
And I know now. Here's how I know that this was not lip service. That she was a fan of the Jake and Ben show. Because she goes, I had to come and say hello because you never get recognized and you've only been recognized by a female once.
That's a deep cut.
Which is a deep story.
Yeah. On
the Jake and Ben show, referring to my first date where I've never been recognized. I don't get recognized often. I never get recognized by females.
Yeah.
But it happened once, and it was on the first date with my wife, coincidentally enough. So I got to be like, yeah.
Sure.
I'm a celebrity. And so she came up, she's like, I had to introduce because now you have another one. So shout out to Leah, who is hilarious and very talented artist. And that was really funny. So I'm still riding high, Ben, because I got recognized.
Congrats to you.
No big deal. Christian, did you get recognized yesterday?
Not quite to that level yet.
Yep, I bet you didn't. Ben?
No, I saw my cousin's husband. He was down there.
No.
I recognized him.
I bet you didn't.
And he remembered my name.
He said, who are you again?
Yeah, I was glad he did remember my name because that could have been awkward. We only see each other every other Thanksgiving. So if he had forgotten my name, that's fine. But shout out to Leah. Yeah. And shout out to you, Mr. Famous. You've made it.
I mean, still riding high. Still feeling good. So shout out to Leah. She made my day, Ben. I got recognized.
She was rolling solo? She went to the game by herself or what?
I don't think she went to the game by herself.
Maybe she's a diehard.
But no, I didn't dive into her background.
Okay.
Give us the names and social security numbers of everybody that you're attending the game with.
Just ask who she's hanging out with.
No, I'm way too self-involved for something like that.
Good idea.
No, we dove into what she's graphic design and the art. She had cool stuff. In fact, she is going to drop some by the studio.
Oh.
And so
today?
No. And probably the studio over there is where we encouraged her to do so.
Okay.
So I hope she follows through on that. But that was she was cool.
Well, shout out Leah. Thanks for listening.
But yeah, when she kind of referenced the deep reference to the show,
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is a listener. This is somebody.
We talked about that last week.
Regardless,
We've
Christian.
Talked
about it one time.
Regardless, Christian. Again, Christian, did you get recognized yesterday? Nope, I didn't think so. Stop it. And it was probably the most interesting thing about the game last night. For everyone, really, was me getting recognized.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Wow, thank you, Ben. You're in an agreeable mood today.
I don't need to fight you on you being recognized. Happy for you. Happy for Leah to see you. Hope she enjoyed the food.
Oh, that's funny. All right. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Giannis's thunderous elbow that nearly broke Flip in half?
No. I mean, that's that's what Giannis does. He's a downhill driver. He's a super talent, as is Damian Lillard. And I don't know if they're competing for a title, but you saw on full display what having guys like that can do for a team, and the Jazz don't have guys like that right now. So that's the goal, is to get there or get some players like that. No, I kind of mentioned this yesterday, and not to be the bearer of bad news, but I just think we're going to see more of these games than we have to start the year. I just think we're going to see more of these 15, 20, 23 point, 15 last night? We're just going to see more of these kind of big double-digit blowouts where the games aren't particularly close. And it was a 20-point game for all of the fourth quarter, basically, minus a mini scramble from the Jazz late that was really never threatening, but they were playing for some pride. Tonight I think is probably going to be a blowout, even though Golden State's only 12-12 at home. I think this is the trend the Jazz are, the direction the Jazz are trending in.
Yeah, I mean, but partially because they're not trying to win. You know what I mean? I mean, remember our Dash comparison from The Incredibles?
Uh-huh.
You can only do that so much.
Yeah.
I find it surprising. I have no idea if this is evidence of anything, but I'll point to it as an example. Bryce Sensabaugh had it going and only played 15 minutes. And maybe that's something else. Maybe that's conditioning. Maybe that's something, I don't know. I have no idea. But that dude is balling. Keontae George, I do believe they're trying to send him a message of what they want out of him, but then he plays 31 minutes.
Yeah. Some of that probably is position of need. I mean, the Jazz just need somebody to fill some of those minutes. And Bryce is still a bit of a specialist. I like Bryce a lot. I think he's going to be a good NBA player. I really believe in his shooting. He still gets weirdly turnover prone at a position where you can't really be that turnover prone. I know last night was not an example of that, but he's got to figure out how to do things other than shoot, which he's not done yet. He's last two games, he's got a combined 1 rebound and 1 assist in 23 minutes. It's like, you're 6'5", you're 230 pounds. Like, you got to figure out ways to impact the game.
Yeah.
And, Will Hardy has talked a lot about all of these guys, and we can talk about Keontae George specifically moving to the bench because he addressed that question last night of, why he made that decision to put Isaiah Collier in the starting lineup and what Keontae specifically isn't doing.
Some bozo asked that question.
But Bryce isn't doing it either. Bryce is not all that attentive of a defensive player.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Very consistently, when you ask Will Hardy about Bryce Sensabaugh, he says the same things, which is like, I need Bryce to be in the right position physically when he's playing defense. It's like over and over and over, I suspect Will Hardy is seeing something that he feels like he has told Bryce to do, and Bryce doesn't do it. And it's like, why am I going to leave you on the floor if you're not going to improve in those areas? And if you're, it's great that you can shoot, and you really can shoot. He can really score. But why are you not doing any of the other things? And I think to Keontae's credit, though he's young and flawed and still has a long ways to go, he's getting better at other things still. His turnovers are down. His assist numbers are good. He's rebounding a little bit more. He's trying to do some of the things, even though he is maybe the worst defensive player in the NBA.
Yeah, and still playing 31 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, SVHT didn't even play last night.
Right.
So, I don't know. They were never threatening to win this game, and if your point is that they're not going to threaten to win a lot of games down the stretch, I could probably buy into that. But I don't think they want to.
No, they don't. Of course not.
Lowry's not playing well. It doesn't seem like his heart's in it. He made some comments about tanking where obviously it's not his favorite thing in the world. I certainly get that.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy for the broadcasters. I hate that it's a thing. Ben, I don't know why, but for some reason I started watching that stupid Michael Jordan documentary again.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just silly. Michael Jordan propaganda, but whatever. I'm a basketball fan,
Sure.
So I started watching it again. And he was talking about how they made the playoffs in his second year because he had a broken foot and he came back from it and they whatever. And it created the rift between Jerry Krause and Michael Jordan because Krause didn't want him to play.
Yeah.
Because Krause wanted a better draft pick and he didn't care about making the playoffs. And Michael Jordan said, "That's not how I do it. I'm going to win at all times, at all costs, blah, blah, blah." That's the point, the whole thing. And then the story goes on. But that was the start of that rift, which is funny that none of this is new.
Yeah, right.
None of this is new. But the culture surrounding the NBA as a whole in 1985 was, sit down, GM. We don't care what your math says.
Yeah.
We want to face Bird and the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs. And that carried the day in that particular circumstance. But in most cases, it carried the day. Right? I mean, after John and Carl, the Jazz did not purposely try to lose games.
The Jazz didn't.
That's what I'm saying. The Jazz did not. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. Tanking
again,
is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
I'm saying that toughness and pride used to win the day.
Kind of.
Now,
in Utah, maybe.
I would say on the whole, more often than it was the other way. I mean, the Spurs tanked in the early 90s or late 90s.
Yeah.
Famously.
I mean, the reason we have a lottery in the first place was because teams were tanking.
Right.
That's why they put it, and it was the draft. It was the Jordan draft. Because people actually wanted Hakeem. So teams were tanking to get Hakeem Olajuwon. Again, this is a 40-year-old problem that the NBA is dealing with, and it is certainly at the forefront now, and teams are abusing it more versus a couple of teams doing it. It's 10 teams in the NBA are doing it. Really, 5 teams are very clearly doing it, and the Jazz are one of those.
But no, think it's 5 teams every year.
Yeah, it is.
That's not how it was. Maybe in the Hakeem draft, we could go back and look at it. But there weren't 5 teams every year that were.
I don't know if that's true. I honestly don't know.
Strategically doing that.
I don't know if that's the case or not, honestly.
So, well, whatever they've done, lottery or whatever, obviously hasn't fixed the case. But in that particular instance, and the Bulls became a dynasty. So if you're looking to copy people's pattern, well, Michael Jordan wasn't going to put up with any of that nonsense, and he ended up being pretty good. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and in fact, I would probably tell you that the Bulls got Jordan because they tanked, right? They were trying to get the worst record. They end up with the 3rd worst record, and they draft Michael Jordan.
I don't know if they were trying to get the 3rd worst record or if they were just terrible.
Probably trying to get the 1st worst record, but they had been miserably bad. The Bulls
for a
were
long time, they were never good.
A joke of a franchise, yeah.
Like when the Clippers got the number 1 pick to get Michael Olakandi, did they tank that season, or were they just the worst run organization in sports? Yeah. So I don't know. It seemed to me the philosophy was less pervasive. But I do think, to salvage a decent conversation out of this whole thing, I do think it's the fine line that the Jazz have to walk, where you don't want to create a culture where it's okay to just go lose.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes I think those things are overrated, but I do think it's a thing. And you don't want to create entitlement with young players. I think that's part of the line they're trying to walk with Keontae George. Like, we're not just going to gift you this role. You've got to go out there and earn it. But at the same time, we kind of gifted you the role.
Yeah.
And we let you go out and play half-ass defense for a long time, and now we're trying to dial that back. How do you walk that line? I'm not envious of what they're trying to do over there, because if you create bad habits for players, they're not going to make it. That's how fine the line is. Like, there are very few players that walk into the NBA that are going to be 10-year people if they don't get any better ever.
Yeah, of course.
Like Dwight Howard walked into the league and he played forever and he didn't get better ever. Most players, you have to get better constantly or you're not going to make it. If Bryce Sensabaugh doesn't get better constantly, he's not going to make it. If Isaiah Collier doesn't get better constantly, they're not going to make it. And I'd throw that at Keontae George into that. So how do you lose games, because that's what you're supposed to do, without creating bad habits in players that are truly going to cost them personally? If Keontae George doesn't dig in and become a two-way player, he's not going to make it. If he doesn't make better decisions, he's not going to make it.
Yeah. He becomes Trey Burke.
If he doesn't stop taking some ridiculous shots without even passing the ball in a possession, he's not going to make it. So how do you create those habits without trying to win? Because throughout all of sports, Ben, from little league to professional, you know how you get better? Because you don't like to lose, and you're going to go practice your butt off because you want to be better, because you want to win. That's true about my daughter's 7-year-old soccer team.
I'm torn on this idea because I honestly, again, I don't know if that's true. Because we can say, man, the Pistons have been a joke. They're not trying hard. They lost 29 games in a row last year. You're not teaching these guys anything. Cade Cunningham's like 12th best player in the NBA this year. He's stupid good. He's crazy. He was on terrible, terrible teams. He was young, came in, he got hurt. His teams played for nothing. His team rested him for an entire year so they could tank. And then they decided to go out and get like very mediocre veterans in Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley. Like guys who could be had by every team in the NBA, and they just turned it around because he's really good, and it just took him an X amount of years to turn it around and be good. You know, Jalen Green exploded last year in the middle of the season. Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. He'd been terrible. Been awful his first few years in the NBA. Looked like a total bust. Everyone in Houston said, this guy's ceiling is Jordan Clarkson. He stinks. And then it's just like he was on the court enough and figured it out. Like, I wish it was that hand in hand. I wish it was like, well, if you play hard and you work the right way, you get rewarded with the right things as far as winning goes. I don't actually know if I see that much evidence of that. In all honesty, I don't.
So you pick the number 1 pick in the draft and the number 2 pick in the draft?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the number 25 pick in the draft.
That's fine. And if you're betting on the number 25 pick of the draft, like becoming a guy.
You know, I could give you the Michael Olakandis of the world that lazied their way out of the league.
Sure.
If we're going to cherry pick number 1 drafts, like, yeah, Cade Cunningham was awesome. The good Lord herself blessed him with many fine talents and size and all the things that led to him being the number 1 pick in the first place. I'm talking about a 6'3" combo guard that is thin as a rail that is trying to be a starting combo guard on a contending team. That's who I'm talking about.
In which case, we're not really talking about tanking anymore, right? Because you don't tank to get that guy.
I'm talking about development, which is the point of this season. To walk the line of development, you have to create good habits. That is true of everybody, including Cade Cunningham, by the way. And if he did create those habits without, the incentive of winning, well, good on you. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as we all know. But if you're looking at guys who are good, trying to be great, or hanging on, trying to make it, well, dogging it on defense ain't going to cut it. And that's born out of bad habits. It is. Look at Dennis Rodman. It's no accident that he started with the Pistons and became what he became, to go back to that stupid documentary. Like, I don't know if he started out with the Pacers. I don't know if he's that player.
I'm not convinced of your argument.
That's all right.
Yeah. Again, I wish it was. I wish there was a through line that was like, if you do X, Y, and Z, it works out for you. And I just don't know if that's the case anymore in the NBA. And to this point where, yes, this season is about development and getting these guys to do things the right way. And the truth is, if they land Cooper Flagg and he brings the culture that he has set at Duke right now, which is I'm the best player on the floor, I do everything well, I play hard every possession, he literally leads the team in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. Like, he is stupid how good he is.
You're thinking of Cooper Flagg. I'm thinking about Keontae George.
And here's how the Jazz are thinking of it. If we get Cooper Flagg, forget everybody. Who cares?
Right, but I'm not thinking about the team. Honestly, I'm not. That's all big picture stuff. Yep. That's all Danny Ainge's problem. I have to talk about development on a nightly basis. And they have to walk a line of a ridiculous overall team strategy that is anti-productive with creating pieces that I think they believe at least some of them are going to be good enough to be on the team in the future, which is the point.
Yeah.
And if Keontae, and again, we're just picking on Keontae, poor Keontae. If you're listening out there, Keontae, I'm so sorry. But you're the relevant player at the moment. Yeah. If they don't figure out a way to get him in the good habits of playing hard, then forget being a member of this team. He's not going to be a member of the league long term. He's not going to be a 10-year guy. He wasn't Dwight Howard, he didn't walk into the league a 10-year guy. None of these guys did. Maybe Walker Kessler just because coordinated bigs have staying
But I think we saw last year
power.
he had milked it going into his sophomore season and was terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
He had bad habits. He fixed the habits. And now, Ben,
he's a heck of a player.
He's dang near the best player on the team.
Yeah.
So that's what you're hoping for the guys that are on the team. I honestly don't care. I mean, I care about Cooper Flagg in a sense that we, get Kristen Peak on the horn. We got to keep an eye on the draft and players that are going to be there because that's the next step after the season is over. But as far as like day-to-day operations for the Jazz, unless you just want to completely punt on all of these guys and say, I don't think any of them are going to make it. I don't care what habits they develop. But I don't think that's what they're doing. But
no, they're certainly not. No, I think this is a real conversation. I think this is a real problem NBA teams have, which is like, how do you know what you have until you actually have the guy that puts everybody in their right spot? Like, until you have the Victor Wembanyama or maybe Amen Thompson right now with the Houston Rockets, or maybe it's Şengün, like whoever their guy is that they think is their best player that they're building around recently, it's been Thompson. It's like, Jalen Green looks terrible until you get the better player next to him, and then he looks awesome. Like, I don't know. What if Keontae's really good, but you just need to have the right player next to him to kind of make his life, put him in the right spot offensively or defensively or whatever it is. And I honestly, I don't know. Does Rudy Gobert or does Donovan Mitchell look awesome without Rudy Gobert his first 3 years in the NBA? Maybe not. He might be Keontae George the way we look at him. He's a terrible defensive player who loves to get up 20 shots.
Now, while you're accurate, I've never bought into that line of thinking, especially for a player. That's not Keontae's problem. That's Danny Ainge's problem. Like, remember when Joe Ingles was coming off the bench and playing like garbage, and everybody was like, "Well, he really benefits from good players around him." Suck it up and come off the bench, dude. Are you an NBA player or not?
Yeah.
Your team is asking you to come off the bench because they need a player of your skill and particular ball handling ability to come off the dang bench. So suck it up and come off the dang bench. And if your argument is that, well, better players around me make me better, well, be better on your own. Yeah. That's so sorry. I'm not
think you're exactly right.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying I always hated that argument.
No, I don't think you're wrong. Again, I really don't.
I'm better with a better co-host. If I get stuck with Lloyd, I still got to do my best.
Yeah. No, I really do hear you. I do. I wish there was. I wish it was a simple formula, and I just don't know if it is. And it's why I'm just like, I'm so unwilling to draw a final, and you're not either, to draw a final conclusion on who Keontae George is as a basketball player right now.
No, it's not going to happen this year.
It's not going to happen. And so, the idea of trying to get there is ridiculous. Trying to pull anything out of what you've seen from Cody Williams this year it's truly moronic. Yeah. It's a waste of time to try and do it this year. Nothing that we're seeing is an accurate portrayal of what the team is going to look like and what they're trying to turn these guys into. I really believe that.
But you can tell if they're getting better. Isaiah Collier is a lot better.
He's getting better. And by the way,
Bryce Sensabaugh is getting better. Like Keontae George
is a lot better than he used to be.
Better.
He's a lot better than he used to be.
I can't put the stamp of, well, this guy's going to make it. No, that's ludicrous. But can I see with my own eyes if a player is improving? Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can look at the numbers. You can look at statistically. You can find out if guys are doing better. And every single one of those players you mentioned is doing better. Keontae is better today than he was at the beginning of the year.
1,000%.
No question about it. Isaiah is a lot better. Walker Kessler is better. John Collins has gotten better.
100%.
The one guy who has taken a step back this year is Lauri Markkanen. Lauri has gotten worse this year than he has been in years past. And I think that fully has to do with role and what the team is trying to achieve and nothing to do with Lauri. So if you're willing to write off Lauri's step back, I think you need to write off everybody else's step forward. And I hate to say that, but it's just like, I don't know if any of it means anything right now.
Yeah, a lot of it's circumstantial. I don't think you can completely apply one to the other, though. And you want to talk about somebody that does benefit from better players because simple spacing is how Lauri makes his money. But even then, don't take the accountability away from Lauri. I can buy into that.
Yeah.
I don't think he forgot how to play basketball, though.
No, I think Lauri's going to be just fine.
Yeah. All right, it is a Tuesday, which means it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to get a pair of tickets to go see the Jazz and Rudy Gobert and the Minnesota Timberwolves coming up on Thursday at Delta Center. So caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Stay tuned. We'll have more next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro.
You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs! Cheap bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports
Zone. Jake and Ben, I want to remind you about to nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers. Making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore our expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. All right, Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, and by far the biggest story of the day at KSLSports.com, Jake Scott. He got recognized at the Jazz game last night.
I did.
Shout out Leah.
I did get recognized. That is that the biggest story at KSLSports.com? I didn't know.
So far.
Did Ben write it up?
I did. Yeah, we interrupted yesterday's game to write a moment
man. Up. Well, great. This is my first time making the top
man,
3
recognized.
stories.
Yeah. KSLSports.com.
I don't know. One member of the show is getting mentioned in press releases and getting recognized in public.
Life is good.
The other 2 are not. Do the Jazz bounce back tonight, Ben?
No, I'm not. I don't know when the Jazz bounce back. And again, it's not about bouncing back. It's just not. It's not what the point is. And we could moan about it or complain about it. Really, I don't care. It doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Do you think Pajemski is going to try to show the Jazz what they're missing out on?
Oh, he's going for 35 tonight.
Well, Kuminga's hurt, unfortunately, so there's no Kuminga tonight. He has not been playing for a while. He's got whatever he's dealing with. Here's the stretch the Jazz are on right now. Now, the nice thing is, after last night, 13 of their next 17 games are in Salt Lake City. So they've got this game tonight against the Golden State Warriors. They have a little bit of an extended homestand. They play a 3-game road trip through Phoenix and then the 2 LA teams, and then they come home for 9 straight in Salt Lake City.
They're basically home for a month, including the All-Star break.
Yeah, if you count the All-Star break, they really truly are. Basically all of February, they're going to be at home.
Remember, all of December, they were on the road.
Right, so this is just making up for it. The problem is, A, the Jazz have been terrible at home this year, and B, 10 of their next 12 games are against teams that are above 500, and the only 2 games that are not above against the team that are not above 500 are against these Warriors tonight, and the Warriors are 1 game below 500.
Yeah, they might as well be.
Yeah, they will be 500 after tonight.
Well, they're trying, so yeah.
Correct. And
which is all that really matters.
It is the type of team that the Jazz are extraordinarily poorly equipped to handle, which is experienced teams who can basically they can execute a game plan for 48 straight minutes are going to crush the Jazz. Some teams have more talent than the Warriors, the staff excluding staff, but can't execute for 48 straight minutes. The Warriors can. They actually have a little bit of depth, so they can play solid throughout, and the Jazz inevitably will blink, and when the Jazz blink, they will overtake them. So Jazz are going to lose those games against the Warriors. I would suspect maybe they get a game here in Salt Lake over Golden State, but this is a tough matchup for them. And then it's not just the teams are above 500. It's like, it's not even, you just got the Indiana Pacers twice. It's like, it really is. It's the Rockets. It's the Grizzlies. It's the Lakers who are suddenly playing really good basketball. It's the Clippers who have been very solid this year. you are playing, it's the Thunder again, you are playing most of the good teams in the NBA over the next 12 games.
It's funny, yesterday on Crosstalk after the game was over, Locke was trying to throw out the topic like, the Jazz not so good at home. They're better on the road, and does it matter? And you know what my response was? Well, the team's only won 10 games, so they're not good anywhere.
Yeah, they're not good anywhere.
I think you can't read into any of that, so stop wasting our time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
It's like when he asked me if where I was on LaMelo Ball. And again, I don't mean to pick on David, but he's like, where are we at on LaMelo Ball? And it was like, yeah, he's got a nearly 40 usage rate on an 8-win team. So I'm pretty out on LaMelo Ball.
Yeah. He's the richest man on the face of Mars. Well, no one can survive there, so who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much money you have
But
there.
the numbers.
Yeah.
But the team's so bad.
Yeah.
It's like Bradley Beal all over again.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, you know how the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, you are suspended indefinitely.
Jimmy Butler was informed, apparently his agent is refuting this on Twitter of all places, which is really the best way to handle this. Apparently Jimmy Butler was told he was going to be coming off the bench for Miami.
Uh-huh.
And he decided to leave practice.
Uh-huh.
He said, that was it for me. I'm out of here. And as a result, they have suspended him indefinitely, which, by the way, it is funny if you step back. This is the exact game plan that the Phoenix Suns used with Bradley Beal. Remember, they benched him not that long ago. And Bradley said, cool, man, I'll keep getting these paychecks.
Whatever. It's warm outside.
You want me to play fewer minutes? All right. Well, I got 4 years left and $200 million coming my way, and I get to dictate where you trade me, which Jimmy does not. But yeah, he doesn't care, but Jimmy cares. Jimmy has a little bit of anger there and some pride on the line that it's not going his way.
Now, I am on record saying how smart I think that Bradley Beal is. I think he's basically a genius. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that I doubt how smart Jimmy Butler is. I honestly have no idea, but I will say this. This is a dumb move on his part.
Jimmy has not handled this whole situation
But
well.
if you get yourself suspended, you don't get paid. You just have to show up and slow play it. I mean, it has the same effect.
Yes, show up and dog it. But if you give them reasons to suspend you, you become the bad guy.
And you're gone and they don't have to pay you. You solved their problem.
Right.
I mean, if we want to, take Rich Paul's course, Arm Twisting 101, this is working against that.
Right. No, I'm with you. This unfortunately, because Jimmy has had a very difficult life and has a complicated history, this screams of like Jimmy's not doing well to me, more so maybe than just, hey, this is a guy who's trying to get traded. And maybe it's mostly just rooted in him wanting to get traded, but the way he has mishandled this badly makes me think maybe there's a little bit more to this situation that's going on. And remember his collapse late last year, and he said, I think the death of his father played a big part in that. So I don't know exactly what's going on with Jimmy, but this has been an unfortunate chapter in a guy who had a very good run in Miami and was one of the cooler players in the NBA. And maybe he just ends up in Phoenix and he's happy, and then he gets what he wants anyway.
I don't think, well, I mean, if there truly is no market for Jimmy Butler, or very little, this just solves their problem for them.
Because he's been suspended indefinitely, and they have a reason to suspend him indefinitely because he's saying, I won't play ball.
Go away.
Yeah.
We're Raja Belling you, but we don't have to pay you.
Right, because you have chosen to leave the team.
And we'll figure something out in the offseason because your value is not going to be any different in the offseason, and we believe we can get at least something for you then.
And Brian Windhorst, your guy Windy, has said that it sounds like the Miami Heat have lowered their asking price. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what they were hoping to get originally for him. I can't imagine it was very much. It sounds like they don't want to take money beyond the end of next season because they want to be able to dabble in free agency or take on contracts or whatever. And obviously Bradley Beal makes money for eternity. So they may not want to take him, period.
No, not a chance they want to take him.
Yeah.
You think Pat Riley wants to take the old maid?
Right.
No way.
So it's just a major issue that the Miami Heat run into. No one can take John Jimmy 1-for-1 unless it's Bradley Beal, and nobody wants Bradley Beal.
Nobody.
So
brilliant man. Honestly,
Bradley.
Bradley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant man.
Yeah, got a no trade clause. It's amazing.
Well, has gotten every penny he's eligible for in the NBA.
And gets to dictate where he lives.
Without winning.
Nobody gets to do that.
At all.
Yeah.
And knew that by manipulating stats, he could do just that. And everybody would think he was a better player than he actually was. Good for him. Brilliant man.
Life's good.
And everybody's like, Bradley, do you want to force a trade to go somewhere and win? And he said, oh, no.
It's warm outside.
Shh.
Yeah.
Shh.
Yeah.
Shh. What are you talking about? Keep that to yourself. No. What's next?
Number 3, BYU hosting Baylor tonight in, can I call this a pivotal matchup?
No, you cannot. But it's an interesting matchup for NBA draft people because you'll see Yegor Demin, who played better in his last game, going up against VJ Edgecombe, another super freshman who had a little bit of a slow start to the season. He's kind of done the exact opposite of Yegor, which is slow start and has really come on like gangbusters and has been awesome. And is a name, if you're a Jazz fan and you're curious, who might the Jazz draft? VJ Edgecombe is very, very, very squarely in the conversation for that 3, 4, 5, probably 4, 5, 6 spot where the Jazz could easily find themselves drafting. He's a freak defensively, to our point of Jazz guards not wanting to play defense. Really starting to shoot, but plays really hard.
Ben, I think everyone overblows home court advantage in every sport by a mile except for one. College basketball.
College hoops. Yeah.
If you look into it, the home court in college basketball means more than any other relevant sport by a long way. And in the Big 12, if you just win your home games, it's enough to get you in. That's not true in the Mountain West. It's not true in the WCC. It's pretty much true in the Big 12. If you could, like what Utah did last year in the Pac-12, if you actually do that in the Big 12, I believe it gets you in. So these home games against good teams are really critical because if you beat Baylor at home, you don't have to make up for it by beating somebody else tough on the road.
Yeah.
So I do think, I don't know, pivotal. What kind of
must win? Pulling out the must win.
That's usually your bag, Ben, throwing out the must win stuff. But yeah, you got to beat good teams at home in the Big 12. I think that's, if you're looking where to start, like when everybody was telling Walker Kessler he needed to shoot threes, and it's just like, why don't you just start with free throws?
Yeah.
Why don't we start there? If you're trying to build a college basketball program in the Big 12, so hard to do. Start with winning your home games, and then maybe you pick off Kansas and Lawrence like BYU did last year, and then you're on to something where maybe you can get a seed where you can move in the tourney, But if you start with winning your home games, you should get in. Good enough.
Goes a long way.
It's the great part about being in a great league. All right. We'll have more coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
According to ESPN, who put together a way too early list, ranking the best fits for committed transfer portal quarterbacks, how are you going to know if they fit until you actually figure it out? On this list, by the way, now here's where it's interesting. Devin Dampier, you know where he came from, New Mexico to Utah. So Utah on this list has the number 2 quarterback best fit, number 1 on the list. John Mateer, Washington State's quarterback from last year. It is actually less expensive for you to go out and get that hot offensive coordinator and to get him to pull that quarterback with you than it would be just to go get that one quarterback. The value is tremendous. You get a great offensive coordinator, hopefully.
What he's done has worked.
Yes, but you see the economics of this? Get a phenomenal hot offensive coordinator and you're going to pay half of what these quarterbacks are going for.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben want to remind you, don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Ticket Wednesday. Listen all day tomorrow for your chance to win. Also want to remind you, join the Zone and JJ and Alex at the Boat Show coming up on Thursday from 3 to 6 at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. This is your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the boat of your dreams. See you on Thursday for the biggest event of the year for boating enthusiasts. Ben, Bill Belichick's girlfriend continues to pop up in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, she went to some Miss USA event and dropped a hint about competing or something. I don't really care. But it did remind me, did you see Gronk on some podcast complaining about Bill Belichick?
No.
So apparently Bill spent quite a bit of time with his team telling them not to let pretty girls be a distraction. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't listen exactly to the
Yeah.
podcast. I don't know how much detail he got into, but you could imagine that Bill, and probably talking to Gronk in particular, encouraged him not to let the fairer sex be a distraction to him. And Gronk was a little bent, like, what? And what are you doing now, Bill? You're 105. Your girlfriend is a 24-year-old beauty queen.
Rules for thee, but not for me,
Yeah,
as they say. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. Of course.
So Gronk was kind of bent about it. I don't blame him.
Oh, that video that is a couple of years old now, but of Bill Belichick famously doing the walk of shame of leaving that woman's house at like 7 a.m, like holding clothes. It's like
the ring doorbell.
Yeah, the
footage.
ring doorbell footage
Of the walk of shame?
of Bill leaving the house like he was going to get a ride from one of his buddies or something. It's
Disheveled.
yeah, he's always been doing it, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how power works. Yeah. And you know what? It worked for Bill, right? I need you guys to be sharp. I need you guys to be totally focused. I need your guys to eat, sleep, and drink football. And if we do that, we can win. And as long as you guys are doing it, great. It probably doesn't matter so much what I'm doing. But because you guys are doing it,
We're going to win.
I can do whatever. Because you guys are working so dang hard. If there's only one slacker, it's fine. I'm the slacker, but as long as everybody else is working hard, life is good. He's the bum in the group project.
But see,
So I'll put the whole project together at the end and turn it in. That'll be my contribution.
But see, Nick Saban has sold the same kind of stuff, and I believe him.
I believe him too. Oh, and I'm sure Bill, for the most part,
Used to be a family man.
or used to try and
Used to
be
not
a
have
workaholic.
distractions.
Yeah. And that was like, what's better than being a workaholic? A, everything. But B, like, having a girlfriend.
Man, I don't know where Bill gets the energy. Because honestly, I'm 43, and I look at people in their 20s, and I just shake my head like, oh, I could never do that.
Burning the candle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Let alone Bill, who's 93, who's chasing around a 20-something?
And
like, where
recruiting.
does he...
His whole life
and
is
recruiting.
20-somethings.
Where does he get the energy?
Yeah, his whole life is chasing 20-somethings.
I get tired just talking to Christian.
Yeah, chasing him around, trying to get him to show up on time.
I don't know how Bill does it. Now she's going to be a pageant person, so he's got to go on that circuit?
I saw Shefty's tweet this morning. Pete Carroll's going to be 73 years old and 11 months when he coaches his first game for the Raiders. That's a lot of stamina.
How old's his girlfriend?
I don't know. Is he married? I thought he was married.
Google that, Christian. Let's find out.
Yeah.
No way that hair's married.
I think he's just too busy loving life.
Yeah.
Can't settle down.
Glenna Goranson, married in 1976.
Wow.
Long time.
50 years? Coming up on 50. Maybe that's the secret.
So if Pete says you got to avoid distractions, you'd buy it from him. Except for he's the king of distractions. He embraced the distractions at USC, which actually worked out for him.
Yeah, it did. I think he probably, of course he's a workaholic. I'm sure he works crazy hours and people would scoff at the idea that maybe he's not working as hard as other people. But he brought a little bit more of a lax attitude, which may have benefited him.
Yeah. Well, Ben, at least your fiance is 25.
And then so will the next one.
All right, stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.